The Saints just played their first preseason game of the Kellen Moore era. We got our first look at the quarterback competition and what this team could possibly look like. And I gotta say, I was impressed by what Tyler Shough had to do and what he showcased in his first NFL preseason game. Now, it wasn't all perfect. He had his mistakes. He wasn't, perfect and looked amazing. But I think we saw a lot of potential as to what he could be in the NFL if he continues to develop. And I was impressed by what he put out there on Sunday. As for the rest of the team, the Saints' best player on the field might have been their 7th round pick, Fadil Diggs. We got rookies standing out, and on top of that, we got some injury updates regarding important players on the team like Trevor Penning and Bob Means coming up in today's video. And we're here to break that all down, including today's preseason game. I'm Cash, and you should take 5 seconds to like the video and subscribe. Help support the channel. We're trying to reach 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're getting pretty close. We're at 13.3. We're about to hit 13.4. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate the support. And if you weren't with us for the live stream, make sure you subscribe so that you're there for next week's when we're live streaming and reacting to the game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And with all that being said, let's dive in to this first preseason game recap. So obviously we got to start off by talking about the quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough. Jake Haener is not included in this conversation. I can definitely say that with 100% confidence. Spencer Rattler got the start. He was named the starter on Friday by head coach Kellen Moore, and in his start versus the Chargers, and when he was out there, I thought he looked okay. I think he was right here going into Sunday's game, and I think he pretty much stayed right here going into Sunday's game. I thought we saw some pretty decent things from him, but also saw some things that weren't necessarily great either. Some of what we saw from Spencer Rattler that I liked was that he was using his legs quite a bit more than it felt like he was using them last season. It kind of felt like he was willing to take off and run for first downs. Like on this play, it was 3rd and 7. He dropped back, had some time, couldn't really find anyone. He had a guy right here. Maybe he could have thrown it there, could have thrown it here. But he also saw a lane, took off running, and also got a block right here from Cedric Wilson and got the first down. Don't like the fact that he didn't slide and that he took a shot right here, but regardless, it was a nice run. He had another run near the goal line. He nearly got in the end zone. He kind of hesitated for a second, and that might have prevented him from scoring. But I like that we were seeing him use his legs a little bit more. I also like this play from Spencer Rattler. We got Cedric Wilson in motion. This is a nice play design. Took the snap and found a man open. Quick read. He should have thrown it a little bit sooner, but regardless, he got it to his wide receiver. Put it in a spot to where he's not getting hit from that safety. If he leads him, that safety over here is going to be hitting him. He put it in a spot to where he's protecting the receiver and also getting the first down. I like that play from Spencer Rattler as well. Kind of felt like he was a little bit more decisive, throwing receivers open, which is kind of what we've been wanting to see from him. And also what we've been hearing throughout training camp from him is that he's throwing guys open, more anticipation, more decisive, and that's what we saw from Spencer Rattler today. One last positive note from Spencer Rattler. In my opinion, his best pass came on a play that was on an incompletion. He threw a ball over the middle to Jack Stoll between some defenders. He threw it away from the safety, threw it behind the tight end so he wouldn't be hit, put him in position to make a play, and also protected his tight end. And it was incomplete. He dropped it, and not only did he drop it, but he almost gave the defender a chance to get the interception. So, in my opinion, Rattler's best play and best throw of the day wasn't even completed. But there were some negatives from Rattler's day overall as well. You got to talk about this play right here. It was 2nd down and 9, and Spencer Rattler took the sack. But not only did he take the sack, but he was fumbled. The sack itself is not on him, in my opinion, but holding on and protecting the football is his fault. He feels the pressure. He steps up into the pocket, but doesn't protect the football, and he gets strip sacked. And you got to protect the football, especially if you know pressure's coming. It didn't look like anybody was open, but regardless, if you know you're going to get hit, you got to tuck that ball in, and the ball came out, and he turned the ball over. Spencer Rattler ended the day going 7 of 11 with 53 passing yards, taking 3 sacks, only losing 8, and running for 3 carries and 22 yards, leading the team on the day in rushing yards, which is actually pretty crazy that the quarterback who ran the ball 3 times led the team in rushing yards. Now let's talk about Tyler Shough, because in my opinion, he was impressive. There were some low moments, of course, and we're going to talk about those as well because it wasn't just great from him. But based on what we were hearing in camp, I was not expecting him to kind of look how he looked today, and I liked what I saw from him. Tyler Shough got the chance to lead a 2-minute drive before halftime, and he did a nice job of doing that. Now, he did look better in that drive because he got to call the plays. It was a 2-minute drive. He essentially was throwing the ball every play, throwing checkdowns. He looked good on that 2-minute drive, although there was a moment where I thought he was about to make a dumb play, but he didn't. Now, of course, in the second half, Tyler Shough made one of his biggest mistakes, if not his biggest mistake of the game, and that was this pick six that he threw. It was on 3rd and 6. He's looking out here for Dante Pettis, and he stares him down the entire time, and then he still throws it, and the receiver never really was open. Like, if the ball was out, like if the ball was heading towards the receiver right now, and he was catching it right here, maybe it's a first down, but this never really was open. And on top of that, the tight end, I believe this was Trayton Welch. He was open on this play because the corner was jumping this route. Maybe he's only open because the corner's jumping it, but he looks pretty open. And then he throws a pick, and then he returns it back for a touchdown. So definitely not a great way to start off your NFL preseason. That was his first NFL touchdown, and it went to the Los Angeles Chargers. But luckily, Tyler Shough was able to bounce back and have one of the biggest plays of the day. The very next drive, Tyler Shough on 1st and 10 from their own 46 went downfield for the biggest play of the day, at least for the Saints. He went with the play action, had some time. Would like to see him step up into this throw, but regardless, he still made an excellent throw. Downfield to a wide open Mason Tipton, who makes a really excellent catch. Or not an excellent catch, but he's open, makes the catch because of an excellent route that he ran, and that was Tyler Shough's first touchdown to a New Orleans Saint. His second of the game, but this one is definitely one that he liked a lot more. Looking at it from this angle, first things first, shout out to the offensive line. Look at this block from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's going to definitely help his stock in terms of making the roster. Pass protection at the running back spot. Look at the pocket. We got 2 tight ends out here blocking, I believe. I think that's a tight end. Look at Dylan Radin's one-on-one. Look at this pocket for Tyler Shough to throw to. And then look at this route. Look at this route out here from Mason Tipton. Nice little shimmy. And just completely torches his defensive back. Here's a better angle of that route. Ooh. Ooh. And then downfield for the touchdown. Really nice play. Great throw, great catch, and great response from Tyler Shough after throwing a pick six. And it was a really bad one. Good job from him getting the Saints on the board on their only touchdown of the day. This was another play from Tyler Shough that was impressive to me. He got some pressure in the pocket. Nice little pump fake. He loves that pump fake. He loves to do that. And then he escapes out of the pocket, feels some pressure, rolling out left. Stays rolling out, looking downfield, trying to find a man. Doesn't commit to a run from himself. And he finds Dante Pettis down the seam for the first down. Nice little arm angle right there with the DB. Throws it over him. Nice play right there from Tyler Shough. Avoiding the pressure, rolling out, staying calm, and finding his man downfield. That was a really nice play. One of his better plays, in my opinion, outside of the touchdown pass. And on the day, Tyler Shough finished 15 of 22, 165 yards, threw a touchdown, and threw another one to the defender for the Chargers. Took 2 sacks for a loss of 12 yards. More yards lost on his 2 sacks than Rattler's 3. That's something to definitely consider when it comes to, counting the numbers and stuff like that. And I believe he ran one for 3 yards. Yes, he did. If I'm evaluating their performances, like I said earlier, Rattler kind of stayed right here. And if Tyler Shough was right here, I think he kind of upped his odds a little bit. He looked a lot better than I thought he was going to. If I was giving them a grade, I think Tyler Shough probably had like a B minus on the day. I thought he was really decisive. Ball was out quick. I think the biggest critic of him was obviously the pick six. I think there was times where he held onto the ball way too long, and you saw that on one of the sacks, and kind of like trying to scramble too much instead of trying to throw it away in those situations. And of course, the missed deep bomb to Kevin Austin Jr. on the second pass. Just little things like that I think were the biggest knocks on him. As for Spencer Rattler, I'd give him like a C plus-ish, like a 76, and give Tyler Shough like an 83, 84, something like that. I think Rattler was decisive, but also didn't take any downfield shots. He had some passes that were behind his receivers, but I didn't think he had a bad day either. Both had turnovers, so I think they were both okay, but I think Shough definitely had the best performance of the day of all the quarterbacks. I think for Rattler, he maintained what he was doing, and for Shough, he definitely, I think, impressed, in my opinion. Maybe you have a different opinion. And I'm at the point where next week versus Jacksonville, in that second preseason game, I want to see Tyler Shough start and see Spencer Rattler get the second team reps to kind of see, okay, was Shough doing good because he was playing the Chargers backups? Was Rattler not doing so good because he was playing the Chargers like starters and second string guys? I want to see a different evaluation of these quarterbacks with different players to kind of see, was today real or was it a circumstantial kind of thing? I want to see Shough get the start next week versus the Jaguars, but we'll see how the week and that develops. Something I wanted to point out is that the Saints offensive line was rather disappointing today. I will say I liked the starting team or the starting offensive line. I didn't have any issues there. I thought Rattler had time in the pocket. He did a nice job maneuvering within the pocket and he had time. I didn't really notice Kelvin Banks or Trevor Penning or Fuaga, so he definitely had time to throw the football. But I didn't like the depth and I didn't like the backup guys and how often they're getting beat. I mean, looking at their running game, only 61 yards rushing on 20 carries. Their leading rusher was Spencer Rattler, so take away 22 of those yards. And what is that? 39 rushing yards on 17 carries for the running backs, and then you take away Shough's 3 yards. Like, this is not an impressive day in my opinion for the offensive line in the run game, at least the depth guys. Dylan Radins did not have a great game, gave up the sack fumble on Spencer Rattler, had multiple holding calls, continued to get beat throughout the game. Number 77 did not have a good game, although Kendre Miller only 6 carries for 15 yards, and I believe he had 1 catch for 9 yards. And even though the numbers and the stats don't show, I thought Kendre Miller had himself a nice day. That's just my opinion. I would like to see more of him, obviously, but he stayed healthy, had a nice return, and I feel like he played better than the numbers suggest. Let's talk about the defense now, and honestly, I'm excited about the defense because I think the best player on the field for the Saints was 7th round pick Fadil Diggs. He just popped off on screen. He was making plays. He was getting pressures. He had a sack and a half. He was also making a presence within the run game. Their 7th round pick, in my opinion, had the best day overall for the Saints defense. Also, on top of that, Danny Stutzman, I thought he was someone who popped off on screen, who was just kind of making plays. ESPN has him with like 3 or 4 tackles. I feel like he made more plays than that, but those 2 guys definitely popped off on screen in my opinion. And it just kind of feels like the young guys on the Saints defense were definitely making plays in terms of the defense. But Fadil Diggs, Chris Rumph, those guys standing out, especially at a position where the Saints need help at an edge rusher. Obviously, I think that's really good development and movement and momentum for the Saints on the defensive side of the ball. Some players, in my opinion, who are trending down in terms of, okay, these guys might not make the roster, they just had a bad game in general. Isaiah Foskey is the first guy that comes to mind. He played the entire game, and he practically did nothing. I think he was involved in 1 TFL, like he made the initial contact, but he really didn't make any plays throughout the entire game. He was not so great in terms of containing the run. So Isaiah Foskey is a guy who stands out as the biggest guy trending down. We already mentioned Dylan Radins as a guy who's trending down. I thought he had a really rough game as an offensive lineman. I feel like the wide receivers, outside of like a few plays here and there, did not have the best game. The wide receiver depth outside of the top 2 guys is just insanely bad, and it's insane that the team just doesn't invest that wide receiver or tight end or running back. And then, of course, I think Jack Stoll had a rough game. That dropped from Spencer Rattler was a really bad one on a pass that was really well thrown from the second-year quarterback. In terms of players who I have trending up, I think Elliot Davison looks pretty good out there. I had him making like 3 or 4 tackles, 2 of them in the running game, 2 like good run stuff, so 1 really good special teams play. He's a guy who I wasn't sure if we're going to be seeing a whole lot of, but he made some really good plays at the safety position. And shout out to Elliot Davison. He was on the channel about a month ago, so really cool to see him making some plays. Obviously, trending up is Fadil Diggs and Chris Rumph, like we mentioned earlier. And how about Isaiah Stallbird and Christian Boyd, who made 2 really big plays on the day for the Saints? Let's talk about Christian Boyd because the Saints have been basically trying to revamp that entire defensive line. He's a guy who I thought should have got more playing time last year, especially with how bad the run defense was. I thought he was good in the run defense today. And he got a sack on this play. It really should have been a safety. He got double teamed right here, but just overall power and strength. And he got to the quarterback. This should have been a safety. But a good play from Christian Boyd, who really needed some momentum in terms of making this team. He's definitely put some nice practices together recently, based off of footage and stuff that I'm seeing. And this was a really nice standout play for him as well. And as for Isaiah Stallbird, number 44, he's the guy who stood out as well. But he stood out the most, I think, on this play. And then after this play, people are looking out for number 44 even more. Just completely read this perfectly on the blitz. Came in and boom, big hit on the running back. Nice job. That linebacker room is really crowded, so I don't know if there's really a whole lot of wiggle room for him to make the team. But if he keeps making plays like this, I don't know if you can keep him off the roster, especially with what he's providing on special teams. He's making some plays. So I think he's a guy who's trending up as well in terms of a guy who had a good game, and he's now on my radar. And some final little notes from Sunday's game in terms of injuries. Trevor Penning was carted off the field, and that's not what you want to see starting left guard for the Saints, someone who looked okay. Being carted off, injuries have been an issue. Feels like he was trending in the right direction in terms of year 4. And just another setback. Will Clapp got hurt, I think, on the first play for the Saints. Not what you want to hear. Bub Means was carted off the field. This is where he got injured last season and had to miss the rest of the year. It looked like a lower body injury, so that's not good, especially for wide receiver depth. And the newly signed tight end Mason Plyan all left with an injury, so nothing new there, but just some updates on the injuries for the Saints. 2 guys carted off, and Kellen Moore did not really give some extra intel as to what's going on with those guys. And Saints head coach Kellen Moore did mention that they might be doing a joint practice with the Rams coming up this week. We'll have to see how that develops. It all depends on the health and injuries, but that is something to keep an eye on for sure. And that does it for today's video. I appreciate you for making it to the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, help support the channel so we can get 15,000 by the end of the year. Let me know your biggest takeaway down in the comments below. Was it the quarterbacks? Was it Fadil Diggs looking really good? Let me know what you make of the Saints first preseason game. I thought the young guys, the rookies, looked solid. So just let me know your biggest takeaway down in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time. I'm Cash. Have a good one.